Sure. In the summer, and just prior to the summer, the European Union, or EMA, European Medicines Agencies, released a draft guidance on Duchenne muscular dystrophy. The community responded to that draft guidance and really responded in a very formal way. A meeting was held in London, and the meeting was really in response, the entire community's response to the draft guidance, looking at 4 different sessions. The sessions that were involved were to look at the unmet need, to look at natural history and what we know now and what we've learned over time, to look at surrogates and biomarkers and what we learned from animal research, as well as extrapolation, so that drugs that are studied in Duchenne muscular dystrophy and often studied in a small subpopulation would certainly have broad labeling so that all children across the spectrum of the illness would have access to the particular drug or therapy. So in response to that, we have a regulatory agenda and have been meeting with the FDA several times for the last 2 or 3 years. We followed a similar course in talking to the FDA about unmet need. We talked to the FDA about benefit risk, because in our head we knew what benefit risk was, that we were likely as parents to take on risk in order to achieve benefit in a given drug or biologic, but that was never formalized. So in our discussions with the FDA, we asked them if it would be helpful if we developed a framework and really did a pilot study of benefit risk in Duchenne muscular dystrophy. They thought that was a good idea, so we partnered with John Bridges of Johns Hopkins University, created a framework and a list of questions and concerns, piloted those with 119 patients, and found some very interesting answers. In general, parents were very willing, I should say in general, their priorities are to stop the progression of the illness, their priorities are to achieve optimal care for their children. The least of their priorities is taking care of themselves, which I think we all understood. And in general, they were willing to assume some risk in some of these drug therapies that are being developed. So we went back to the FDA in June and talked to them about the benefit risk framework. We shared our data with them. It was a pilot study of 119 patients, parents actually, and asked them what we could do to enhance that study, if it would be useful to them, if it met their rigor. They thought this benefit risk was a terrific framework. They felt it should be expanded to include a broad range of parents, not just a pilot study. They thought it should be expanded to patients, so young adolescents and adults with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, wondering if, or asking the question if, benefit risk is different for parents than it is for adolescents or individuals with the disease. So we agreed to do that. In addition, we discussed the EMA guidance that was issued and asked what they thought about it and if they had any idea of creating a guidance on in the United States. In general, the response was they didn't want to create draft guidance for Duchenne muscular dystrophy because that would sort of open the gateway for 7,000 plus rare diseases and the need for guidance. But they felt that it might be very useful for the community to consider drafting a framework and developing the guidance. We also shared the need to have equal information as in the London meeting and the London response to the EMA guidance. We agreed that it would be useful to have similar information to start this concept or this process in the United States. So they agreed to partner with us to do a policy forum. The policy forum will be on December 12th. It's going to be held at the Hilton in Silver Springs, Maryland. We're expecting 7 to 9 FDA representatives there. It will be divided into 4 sessions. The first session, as in London, was unmet need. The second session is natural history studies. The third is biomarkers and surrogates. And the fourth, we're going to lay out a framework for the draft guidance. So our intention is to lay out that framework, to get community input into that guidance, to have a meeting in February sort of in line with our advocacy agenda and our advocacy conference that's held every February. And we'll talk there about novel trial designs, how to be inclusive of persons across the spectrum of the illness in clinical studies, to explore together in a very formal way that draft framework that's been established and sort of begin to fill in the blanks of the guidance. And then in May, we hope to submit guidance to the FDA for review.